Most Wanted Music 25. I feel like in my own TV show now with this entrance. Maybe it was a bit too much. Hi again, I'm Danilo Tim. Very excited to introduce you to the next panel. For also all the sober folks out there, people that want to experience also the ways of partying. I know in Berlin it's very challenging. Club Culture 2.0, healthy and high on life. Leading this next conversation is a friend of mine, Christian Huder, founder of Pura Vida Festival, a gathering that celebrates community, consciousness, and creativity. Christian combines his background in startups and mindfulness to explore how we can live and lead in harmony, both in business and in nightlife. And the panelists are going to be Alexandros Tsachoridis, co-founder of Save the Dance, working on a safer clubbing environments and harm reduction in nightlife. Maximiliane Wetzel, psychologist and nightlife researcher, focusing on mental health and care structures within club culture scene. Lindi Delight, our own head of programming at Most Wanted Music, artist manager, event curator, and co-founder of Delight Management, promoting well-being and inclusion in electronic music. And Rebekah, international DJ, founder of Justice Through Music, advocating for awareness, recovery, and community within the scene. So please, warm welcome for Christian and the panelists for Club Culture 2.0.
Thank you, Danilo, for this introduction and a very warm welcome. Yeah.
One information. So you see there is one extra seat here. This is the format we're trying now. It's called the fishbowl. And whenever you feel like you have a question, you want to be part of the conversation, there's an open circle. So you can come, sit here, get a microphone, be part of it, and just have a nice conversation together, okay? Don't get intimidated, just come.
Yes, thank you very much. So, as you heard, feel free to join our conversation whenever you have the impulse. Sometimes I will also ask if there's someone who might want to share something with that. And other than that, I'm super excited to host this panel here because of my personal connection to that topic as well. For me, it has been a journey of about almost 10 years inquiring how can a happy life be with sustainable euphoria. Yeah, that's how I call it sometimes. And that led myself to found a sober festival at the end of the day. And today I would love to ask the panel with a question. So what was your personal moment of transformation, of realization that led to this new way of relationship towards a healthy clubbing culture? Is there anyone who would like to start?
Okay, I will start. Basically, I realized that I'd been taking drugs and alcohol for 20 years, and I was just really stuck. I was depressed, and suicidal, and I had no career, even though I really wanted a career. And I just asked the question to myself: is it possible to go out clubbing, DJ, and do this without taking drugs? Is music enough? That was the question I asked myself. And that led on to making better choices and finding recovery, and now changing the person that wanted to party and take drugs, which is probably one of the most important things. If you stop, you're just like a sober drunk, as they call it. So you need to do some work on yourself, which I did. But yeah, that was my turning point. I'm Rebekah, by the way.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
I'm Maxi. I have a similar background. I've also been doing drugs and been battling with heavy alcohol and drug addiction for more than 20 years. For me, the turning point was when I lost my job, I lost my business, I lost the relationship to cocaine addiction, I lost friendships. I had people in my friend zone that was suicidal. I also didn't know how to deal with my life anymore, so I was really at a point of no return. So it wasn't really a choice to say I want to stop. It was really, the point in my life where I didn't have any other option than turning my life around. So for me, it was also, I wanted to stop for many, many years. I told myself 1,000 times, tomorrow, 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 and it never happened. So when the time came, I really thought my life is over, because I couldn't imagine how my life was going to be after, without any substances. But now I know that the rock bottom point, which I really had to hit, was actually really good, because once you're at the bottom, the only way is up. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing.
So in my life, I've been in the music industry for a really long time, and substances have always been around. But my journey with alcohol started way before I was in the music industry. I was drinking a lot as a teenager, and it just never stopped. You're asking about this moment, this where this change came. It's happened so many times where I felt, okay, now is the time I'm going to stop, and I would be able to stop maybe for 2 months. Maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months. But in the back of my mind, I always knew that there was going to be the day where I would do it again, right? And I was, even though I was drinking a lot, I was still able to maintain my job. I was still able to maintain a lot of my, outer world parts. Like, I was able to keep it all in order. Of course, relationships, I would do embarrassing things and lose friendships, but there was many moments where I felt, okay, this is enough, and I was really grateful for the way that I did stop. It's not a very, I don't know if we should talk about it now or later, but it wasn't as a traditional way as other people stopped doing substances. I did plant medicine and never drank alcohol again. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So I would like to talk more about this as we go, but it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me. Yeah, stopping.
Thank you for sharing, Lindi. And there is a really special connection of your personal journey with that day to day. Do you want to share that with us?
Today happens to be the 7-year anniversary of me being alcohol-free.
Okay, wow.
Thank you. I honestly never could even have imagined that my life would be alcohol-free for even a year, 2 years. I could never imagine I would have made it this long. And I don't think I'll ever drink again.
And this is for you, because I know that you're 7 years sober. She told us in the briefing. And
oh my gosh, that is so sweet.
I have 5
Thank
years,
you.
so
Wow. Wow. Thank you. I will put it back just over here again, but thank you. Wow, that is so thoughtful. I'm going to cry.
I use this as a moment to share my story.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
First,
Yes.
I want to say thank you very much for showing up here. I'm on the strongest drug that you can be right now. It's called reality. I'm sober since 5 years. I was a heavy addict. I used to live in Berlin. And the moment I realized that I have to transform my life was I came out with the age of, I think, 24 of Watergate. I was coked up. I took some MDMA on top going to M10. I drove home. I jerked off for 2 hours and I felt nothing. I said, I cannot feel anything anymore. So I hired an escort to feel something. And the escort came into my apartment and said, I can pee on you. Maybe you like it. And when I lied on my own pee, I realized I'm fucked. I'm a drug addict sitting in Berlin, coming out of the clubs, chasing highs. I need to change my life. So what I did is I left Berlin. I went on a cycle trip for several years without money, without nothing. I traveled the world on a bicycle for almost 6 years. A lot of people might know it from my story. And then what happened is I realized that the highest drug that you can be on is your own reality, but it's also the strongest one. When I'm sitting right now here, I feel all of those people and their pain that they went through. I also feel you guys, because I know sitting here, there's a reason why you sit here. But the reason why I gave you those flowers is because the strength that you need to get into this reality, to accept all the emotions that we have, all the feelings, all the spirit, all the soul, is a high. And once you know how to deal with that high, this is the most fucking high that you can have on life. So I want to say thank you to everyone who is sober, but also want to say thank you for everyone who tries to get sober. It's worth it, and I'm looking forward to share with all of you how to get there and how we can help each other.
Thank you so much for sharing this story. And I think what connects everyone at some point is also the topic of feeling, right? You have been mentioning that, and I think that's a very important one in regards to that, because I also made the experience myself that often I was numbing myself with alcohol just to simply overcome some unpleasant feelings, right? And it's something that I think we still have to learn in society to teach that to the young people, to really make them understand how to manage that and how you can actually feel pretty high on just life, right? Because I really share that what you said, it is super powerful and it is the most beautiful that you can. But of course, you have to learn about it.
Thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, thanks a lot for all sharing your very personal and also vulnerable stories with that topic. Which I can also imagine is not so easy because it's also still related to a lot of shame in society to actually start opening and talking about those kind of things. And a spontaneous question that came right now is basically the question, what have you been doing to overcome this shame on a personal level? Because overcoming addiction is one thing, but then also publicly speaking about it is another thing.
I keep it short. Speak about it. It's not a shame to take drugs. It's not a shame to run away from life. It's not a shame to be who we are. We come from, I don't know from where we come from. We have no fucking idea where we're coming from. We're coming out of our mother's vagina. We're coming to this planet. We have no clue what we do here. So I can totally understand that a lot of people from very young age start to drink, or I sniffed, or I did, because I didn't understand who I am deep down. And nobody taught me. I didn't went to school to my teacher, say like, hey, I have a problem. I'm not getting a girlfriend. I have a big nose. Can you teach me? He said, oh, I'm not responsible for this. Learn about Second World War. There was nobody there teaching me how to be myself. And to answer your question, I think it's very important to speak with people about what happens. It's so, also, I remember when I took coke in Berlin, it was so glorified. Pablo Escobar, I went years later to Colombia and saw people getting killed because of that stuff. I saw people getting trafficked for that stuff, and I feel like, what did I do in Berlin? Asking my dealer if he can get me pure coke. There is no pure coke. It's full of dirt, it's full of toxic, it's full of acid, it's full of kerosene. It's shit. So we need to talk about the things. We need to create awareness in the society that we are all addicts on something. We have all some addictions. My addiction now is like music. My addiction is water. My addiction is sports. My addiction is to be disciplined. My addiction is to be brave enough to speak here. And I think that when we talk about those things, it's very important to accept that, hey, we have those things, we have those feelings and emotions, and it's human. It's not a shame. We should allow ourselves to talk about it. I think talking is a good way to deal with it.
It's a good first starting point, yeah.
So for me, I can agree, it's the honesty, like accepting the reality that I have a problem, and not just putting makeup on the situation and pretending nothing is going on, although it's visible for everybody around me to see that I'm not dealing with things well. And also understanding that I can be an addict and I can have an alcohol problem, although I have a job, I can run a company, I can have a career, I can have a relationship, I can pretend everything is all right and I can still look all right, but I can also have a problem at the same time. And I think the perception of addiction is, that you have to look really fucked up, that you have, you're already not in control of your own life. And this is the outside perception of an addict, but I think we are all like very well functioning addicts here. So for me, really the way out was just to accept my own reality, and then of course there's the shame involved, because these words like alcoholic, addict is not something that I want to identify with, but that's how it is. And once you understand this, you can use this for your recovery, because you don't have to run away from yourself anymore. And that's, I think the honesty is the ticket into freedom in that way.
From my side, I think it took a lot to really understand the level that I was drinking. So, you know, after it was maybe a year of not drinking, it was like I was just getting used to my life again. I was getting used to, you know, feeling for the first time in my life. I was having to face every emotion, every situation head on, but I still wasn't necessarily admitting the level of how I was drinking before. And it took time. It took time. If I would tell people I haven't drank in a year or two, they'd be like, "Oh, do you have a problem with it?" And I was like, "Well, not really." It took a long time for me to admit that to myself. And I think it even took about 5 years. I think 2 years ago was the first time I ever shared my story and explained, the level I was drinking. Like, I was blackout drunk most of the time. Like, I didn't know how to just have a couple of drinks. It was just go hard or go home, and going home and not remembering anything. And so in that process to understand the level that I was drinking and the harm that I was doing and why I was doing it, this was all a process. And it's still a process. It's been 7 years, but like I'm still learning things. I'm still having realizations. I'm still connecting the dots. But every single year when I do say, okay, it's been a year, it's been 2 years, it's been 5 years, whatever, I have so many people messaging me. Some people saying, tell me how you do it, working in the music industry, how are you able to abstain from drinking? Like, it's constant. And the more that I do talk about it, the more that I realize how important it is for us to share our stories. People need to see that it's possible. People need to see examples. And that's why I have that urge now to be speaking about it a bit more. And maybe one day I will completely let go of all of that shame. I'm sure it's still hiding there, but it's not hiding enough for me to not share and speak about it.
I agree with all of what you've said. I would just add that actually being public it makes you accountable. So you have this persona, you are the sober one, you are the drug-free person, and if you, I don't know, like maybe it's an ego thing, but if you then, go away and relapse, then you've got to be accountable to, for me, a lot of my fans and the people that follow me musically and my peers, and it's just, you've built this life up so much without drugs that it's just too much of a risk anyway to relapse now. And so I use it for that reason, and to stay humble, to spread the message. It's actually step 12, Narcotics Anonymous, to share the message and take it wherever you go. And for me, I don't carry the shame. I carry the shame maybe in other areas, probably for the next panel that we're doing, maybe a little bit more, which is also linked to drug taking. But it is freedom. Like, once you get sober and clean, it's freedom, that's it. So there is no shame,
I would just like to add one thing, because when you're coming from that shame, when you're in active addiction, talking about it is very shameful, but once you get sober, it's, admitting that you're an alcoholic or you're a drug addict, it's actually a way to protect yourself. Because if everybody knows around you, they also, try to protect you and not expose you to difficult situations. So admitting to this.
Some people.
But for me, it's a way of protecting myself, because I don't get asked, like, do you want to drink? Do you want to drink? Why don't you drink? Blah, blah, blah. Like me saying I'm an alcoholic or I have a problem is a way of, keeping that away from me as well.
Yeah, for me personally, there has been many steps that led to different realizations, and one of them was around 10 years ago, I joined a yoga retreat, and in the evening program, they had an ecstatic dance, and that was a very interesting moment for me, because I felt really awkward, like trying to dance and to move with all those people, and I really didn't really how to manage it, and it took a while to really break free and started to dance. And at this point I think I realized, wow, most of the time since I was a teenager, somehow alcohol has been involved into dancing, and then I realized, wow, this is like almost like a norm in our society, right? And most teenagers, you drink when you go out the first times, and then you just keep on doing it because it's the norm. right? And that unlocked for me a personal journey into sober and conscious dance and moving and understanding what happens in the body when you do that in a sober and conscious way, right? Because you move a lot of emotions, you move a lot of energy, and dancing is a really beautiful way of expressing all of that, right? But most people already until today are not so much aware about this factor. And I'm really wondering, like, now coming from this experience, how has it been changing or transforming for you now? Like, how has your dancing, your clubbing experiencing evolved into something more healthy and meaningful?
My life has become amazing. Yeah, I've had the energy to be able to take on so much more than I could before. There was so many opportunities that would present themselves that I know that if they'd been presented when I was drinking, that I would not have been able to handle them. So in that way, it's definitely helped me take care of myself, you know, and not drinking and taking care of yourself, these are different things, right? Like, you cannot drink and still treat your body in a horrible way with what you're eating or how you're sleeping. There's lots of ways to be harmful, but the absence of alcohol has definitely inspired me to take the best care of my mind, body, and soul, and that is, for me, is the most rewarding part of it. It's actually, like I said, it's been the absolute best thing that's ever happened to me, is to let go of that poison.
I have a moment that I want to share with you. I was in the lockdown here in Germany, and then I could not take it anymore. I was already sober, but it was even harder to realize now I'm alone. I moved out of the apartment of my parents because I got divorced, and then I moved to Germany quickly, and then I said, okay, I'm sober, I got my shit together, let's go to Greece. The lockdown was very hard. I just trained, focused, meditation, everything, and then somebody calls me from Mexico and says like, hey, I'm gonna hire you. I go through a divorce, I know you're a life coach, I cannot go to Greece because there's no way I'm going to this lockdown area. I go to Mexico, so I fly you in. And he flew me into Tulum, and there was no lockdown. There was like, people were partying like crazy. And he says, we go in the evening to a club. And I entered the club, and because I was in lockdown in Europe, and I see all these people, I just took off my shirt, destroyed the dance floor like for 8 hours, and the owner of Vagaloom Club came to me and said, I hire you the whole season, you become a dancer. I'm like, I'm not a dancer, I'm a life coach. He said, I'm gonna hire you every Friday. Somebody's even sitting here who came to visit me. We went every Friday backstage. I was every time on stage, and everybody came to me and said, give me what you take. I'm like, here. He said, how much MDMA is inside there? I'm like, no, there's no MDMA inside this, water. He's like, okay, bro, you put L inside? I'm like, no, listen. Drops? I'm like, bro, you see this is clean, this is sober. He said, no way. And I became kind of a cult figure in Tulum for the 2021 season, like completely sober, dancing every Friday. And people really ask me, like, how do you do? And I think what everybody can relate is when you get sober and you have this kind of discipline, you did the hard work, the sacrifices. What you said before is like people try to protect you. I had the feeling people try to get you in. They say, like, come on, don't be boring. What the fuck is this? You can't deal with it. And I feel like a lot of people take it for very normal to be high. I think this is a very common thing in our society to be high. Also on porn, social media, distractions, on a lot of things, coffee and everything. So nice. And then just to wrap it up, I became a dancer for a whole season in Tulum with this kind of sober energy. Crazy. As a life coach, becoming a dancer. Just wanted to drop this to share this beautiful moment with you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Clarks, and I personally didn't ever drink or take drugs because of my father. He was like an alcohol addict, and I think that's the reason. I just wasn't into starting that, so I never started. I am very interested in the format of ecstatic dance. I have experience in that, and on the other side, I'm also just a musician and trying to connect or personally being in between pop music culture, usual clubbing culture. Also, sometimes I go to raves or whatever. Always sober, and I would be interested about the formats. I know ecstatic dance. I know also the people who go there. But I would be like interested in finding formats, and that's why I'm here also, because it was like in the text, or that's what I thought is the topic. Like, what are the actual formats that you find? What structures do you offer to people who want to like experience sober club life? So maybe sober concerts, but just like bridging also maybe the target groups between those like hippie ecstatic dance people and more mainstreamy people. Like, I'm like searching for answers or searching for formats that are a little broader maybe than just the ecstatic dance scene. So do you have your formats? Do you have answers to that question?
I mean, I DJ to mostly fucked up people. Sorry for the swearing, but they are. It's true. But I think by being vocal about my sobriety, more and more people contact me and they say they come alone because they're sober or they're clean. And I feel like now that it's not a prerequisite to take drugs anymore, going out clubbing. I have never been to like a full sober rave. I would actually really like to. I think there's like, is it Lunchbox Candy? There's a few places here that would be interesting, and I still have to go. But I feel like it needs to be mixed, and we're trying to share, like as a performer, just sharing energy regardless of what they're on. If we think about it, like drugs kind of like expand people's consciousness, and also just going out and dancing, your consciousness becomes open as well. Like the amount of gigs I've done and got back to the hotel room and my mind is like completely open, and that's just from like DJing and listening to the music. So yeah, that's kind of like my experience. The crowd is getting more mixed. There's not as a stigma anymore to be sober, and I think that's just years of development. And when I started being out and wanting to be sober, there was nobody. There was no one I could look up to and go, okay, they're sober, I can do this. So it was a little bit of a difficult time. That's like 16 years ago. So things have definitely changed now. But has anyone else got any?
Yeah, I also feel that it's changing a lot with the younger generation. And when you were asking that question, there were two things coming into my mind, right? Are you based in Berlin? Or?
I'm based in Hamburg.
Ah, yeah. Because in Berlin, what I see in the recent years, like around all these kind of yoga and ecstatic dance, there emerged a lot of new practices. So one thing that is really famous in Berlin in the recent years is fluent body, for example, where people dance in a very certain way, and it's almost like I would say an emotional release session mixed with dancing. I would describe it like that. And there have been emerging like many different formats where people just meet for like 2-3 hours and they just dance, or 5 rhythms dance is one of them. And next to that, it was also like one of the questions that personally led me in creating Pura Vida Festival, for example, because I like ecstatic dance, but sometimes I also think, okay, this space is like too much. Why there is not normal music playing, for example, normal club music, where people are sober. And when we started Pura Vida Festival, that was also one of the intentions, to bring also like real good, especially electronic club music into a conscious and sober space. And what was really interesting to see is when you provide a space where everyone is sober, then actually no one is missing something. That is the first place, right? There is no one even thinking about drinking a glass of alcohol or taking something else. That is super interesting. And the second is all the DJs, especially also from the conventional electronic music scene that come to our festival, they are blasted away because they've never seen a crowd freaking so out than the sober people. And that is the most ironic and the most funny thing that I can see in that space. And so for me, it's a lot about creating those kind of spaces where the people can come together, and then you can almost put any kind of music there, and I can guarantee it's an explosion.
Thank you very much for coming here.
Thank you for bringing that in.
Hi. I feel compelled to say something just because I don't really speak about this very often publicly. But I've been sober since 2004. I've lived all over the world. Being in Berlin is trippy because this is sort of my last hooray 25 years ago. And it's interesting to be here all these years because I could never connect back because the world was very different from the sober world I discovered everywhere else in the world. And there's a huge shift here in Berlin that I'm very intrigued by, and I think all the new friends I've made here accidentally all happen to be sober, or not accidentally, right? I think there's an energy to that, there's a tribe. You know, I've lived all over the world sober. I have danced my way across the universe. I love dancing, I love music, and I love life. And I wouldn't have any of it if I hadn't left Berlin, if I hadn't left the party scene, if I hadn't exited stage right and gotten sober. And so, but that said, I would say, I'm 45 years old now, that my life, I went to my 25-year school reunion in my hometown here in Germany, and I haven't lived in Germany in 25 years. So, for good reason, for all of those reasons. So, going back to see the people that I grew up with and being recognized, even in the school books, as the one that caused the most problems, you know, went the hardest, and was also the most fun. I think I continue to still be the most fun, but on a completely different level. And as the night went on, there was a divide between those who used to go out with me and still maintained their habits and lost their coherence, and those who found joy in a completely different way. And so, yeah. Maybe this is just a little story of hope that 22 years later, this is what sobriety looks like, right? Living life to its fullest and knowing that, especially as a woman, you can go absolutely anywhere you want and into any room, and you never have to anesthetize yourself to do the things you want to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And how is it for the two of you? Like, how does clubbing for you looks now? What has been changing? Like,
so for me, until I was 37, I've never been out sober, and for me it was impossible. Like, I couldn't imagine going to a club, not doing any substances. So when the day came that I did become sober, and that's the weird thing, because when you're in addiction, you plan this day, you know, 1st of January is always a good point to get sober, but it never happens. But when the day comes, you don't know that this is going to be the day. Yeah, it can't be planned. For me, I had to take a really long break because I just really needed a long time to recover, like physically and mentally, from everything that happened to me. And I took a long break from clubbing. And then I didn't know if I can go out. You know, I have to go out during the day. I can't go out at night. Now, obviously, I can't stay that long anymore because I get tired at some point. So things change, but it also depends on how you look at things, because if you look through the, you know, when you're using, you obviously attract people that use as well. And when you're sober, suddenly you attract people that are also sober. And I didn't have anyone in my friend zone or the people that I hang out with that was sober. Actually, one person, that's a lie, one person, and that was always very alien to me, you know, how he can do it. But now that I'm sober myself, I'm actually surprised how many people you can meet that don't use. So it's really about, you know, how you come across and who you're actually looking for, who you want to meet. But for me, it took me a while. You know, I needed some distance, and then I had to, you know, like step back in again with a different mindset, and also understand that it's totally possible not having to drink or to do drugs.
thank you. We have someone new joining the round.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Uma. I'm 20. I started drinking very early on in my life. Like, I was really young. I think I grew up in a place where, I don't know, it was kind of alternative education. We were kind of like the opposite of what you were saying. So we were really like we had people to lean on, you know, we had people teaching us it's okay to be whoever you are. And still, I was always like a very impulsive kid. I was always looking for something I was always trying to be more fun and be more interesting and kind of, you know, I was always chasing something. And that made me very impulsive. It made me very prone to kind of taking the first thing that was like going to change my state of consciousness, you know. And so very early on, I was very addicted to things. I have very like addictive personality. So when you say I couldn't just enjoy a couple of drinks, I couldn't do that. I was always looking for the next glass and, oh, I have to finish this glass of wine and I have to take the next one if they offer me. And, oh, you're going to leave that glass? Oh, I'm going to take it, you know. So it was always this. And I was in boarding school and I got suspended in my last year right before my exams. And it kind of just made me question everything. I was like, what am I doing, you know? Like, I've grown up in such a loving environment. I've grown up in such a nice place. Why am I always trying to hide from myself? I'm running from, what am I trying to run from? And so I quit. Like, I used to smoke cigarettes a lot, which is not like that altering, but I still think it's a very big addiction. And it was like nicotine addiction really badly, like with the chewing gums and the patches and everything, you know. And alcohol and weed and then I just went cold turkey and I just stopped everything because my parents got to know and they were like, what the hell? You know? And it was like, for them I think it was also very difficult because they were like, you know, we've always been so open with you. And they were sober when they had me and my siblings, but before that they struggled with big addictions. So I was just sort of at this place where I was like, what do I do now? And I went sober. I wouldn't say sober, but I stopped. And then in the summer, I was in Ibiza with my siblings, and they have like huge clubs, you know, in this party scene where everyone's like completely on drugs and everything. And I entered the club, and I was like, what is everybody doing? Like, what? It's so strange to be sober in an environment where everyone is like going crazy, and you kind of just, I could see through everything. I was like, it's like everyone's trying to run away from, I don't know what it is, you know? So for me, it's like the question is, how do we create like environments and places where it's okay to be sober? Like it's okay, it's cool, you know? It's like, it's nice, you embrace a part of yourself. And yeah, I don't know, I think that's my question. It's like, I think it's so glamorized in today's society to just have a glass of wine and have a beer, you know, and just do it because everyone else is doing it. But where is that change? Like, where do we create like the flip? That's my question.
I think that's a super interesting question. Thank you for raising that, because for me personally, it's also a lot about creating those kind of spaces. You know, when I'm thinking about Berlin nightlife sometimes, if you enter a club sober, it is sometimes the most awkward environment that you can actually think. It stinks, it's dirty, it's like whatever. It's a place where you definitely don't want to be, right? And so I think in these terms, there still has to change a lot. And I'm super curious, do you know spaces where it's happening like that? Or do you have ideas how to create that kind of spaces?
I've been hearing a lot more, I think we touched on a little bit on the last question, but there's been a lot more of these like sober events popping up. And you're seeing it a lot more with the younger generation, you know, they're creating like book events, like book club events, or they're sober this, sober that. So, and also even just speaking to club owners that I know, they're not making as much money because the younger generation is just not drinking. And sometimes it's to reframe, you know, looking for where you can find those spaces. We all have the freedom to create these spaces ourselves. If we have an interest, if there's something that inspires us, we can find the spaces and start building this community around what you believe and what your perspective of sobriety is. We don't need to wait for anybody else to do it. We can all do it ourselves. And we're seeing a lot of that.
you touched on this topic. I think it will not happen. There will not be a space where only people are sober in mainstream.
But it exists.
Huh? Yeah, it exists, but the big ones that you mentioned in Ibiza are like, like big clubs like this. Because there's a big industry behind that too. It starts with the movie industry. It starts how we look at alcohol. When you watch movies, Hollywood movies with cigar and the cognac and all this all like also we get conditioned that this is normal. We think we're entering now a time where people like you with 20 coming and sitting here. I was with 20 chasing like a dealer, get some coke, okay? Was not sitting here and debating about like, wow, it's good to be sober. So I think, first of all, I want to give you a lot of respect. Also
Absolutely.
cold turkey, like brave, good stuff, like good way. And also when I come right now from Ibiza, somebody hired me over there, pretty known DJ, says like, I don't get my shit together, I make a lot of money, I'm living in Ibiza, I have my house, come over here, I need to get clean. And he told me like the industry feels that young people stopping also to drink. Like they feel it everywhere in the world. Like people start to recognize like, hey, maybe it's not that good for my body, for my mental, for my emotional, for my soul, for my spirit, for my relationship. You know how much problems also being an addict or being like on drugs creates for environments, for your family, for your friends, for your jobs, for your performance, for everything. So, but I think we will never walk into like Universe or DC-10 at 8 o'clock and everybody's like with a mineral water and the Apfelschorle and we go like and she's playing music and we're like, this is so good. And you know also why? Because I think also from the evolution of humans, we used to take drugs all the time. But this is what I see with a very different intention. I was in 2013 in Bangladesh and they smoked opium on a ceremony which happens every 5 years and they were cleaning like childhood traumas on opium. But there was not like to get high and watch then porn at home and sniffing a line on after and play poker. It's very different intentions today. But I think we are in a transformation where people like you going out and showing other people like, hey, I'm 20 and it's cool to be sober. And that's why I encourage you to keep going out there and represent yourself as authentic you are and spreading the message.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm gonna go so somebody else can come. But nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really inspiring. What about you? Have you come across interesting spaces or also alternative ways on experiencing natural highs?
I mean, through music, music has to be the main drug, I suppose. It's probably the biggest thing for me in my life. So I don't need anything. I don't need anything when I go out clubbing because I have the music. I'm not a massive fan of bars. This is where the difference is. I can go out to a club and because it's so loud, I can be around so many people that are taking drugs and drinking, but I can't hear them. So if they try and talk to me, it's usually, I'm kind of deaf as well. So I like that experience. I still feel free in those spaces. And having to learn how to DJ sober, it took me about, I think I had 6 weeks between my first gig and getting sober. And I managed to do it. I mean, I got a massive Red Bull addiction to the point of my name was Red, what was my name?
I don't remember.
I had a nickname, like through CLR I had a nickname. It was like Red Buller or something.
I'm gonna think about that.
Yeah, I had a nickname. And I could easily drink like 5 cans of Red Bull in a night. That was the first couple of years. But it was, I was anxious. It's an anxiety thing. That's why you walk into a venue and you're like straight to the bar, like I need to down a shot or something. It's this anxious energy that most addicts have. I wanted to also just touch on the last girl, is it Uma? She basically, when she said about going in and observing people, not everybody is an addict, so we have to really understand this part. There's lots of people that can just go out and take a pill and drink, and then they go home at 6 o'clock and they go to bed, they sleep, and they know the consequences, they know they're going to feel like crap. The difference is that I don't want to go home. I'm already planning where I'm going for the next 2 to 3 days. I'm the last one there. Might be mute for at least a day, but I'm still taking drugs. And that's the difference. I can't stop. I don't want to go home. To the point where, it's destructive. So navigating those spaces. Not everybody's like that. People are, we're in the entertainment industry. Clubbing is entertainment, and drugs are part of that, and alcohol is part of that. So we have to accept that. But you can also go sober. There's soft drinks served at the bar. We have to, I don't think there should be such a taboo around this stuff anymore. But yeah, back to the music part. I'm extreme. I've gone from like techno into hardcore, so that's where my music addiction has taken me. I need to like jump around at 180 BPM right now to feel something. So my addiction is still there, but I love it, and it's a journey, and everything in my life right now is just basically a product of me stopping, changing the person who wanted to take drugs, doing a lot of self-help, a lot of like therapy, recovery stuff, learning about myself, taking accountability, and having awareness around everything. And you then create the life of your dreams. I would never have been able to be a successful DJ and travel the world if I wasn't clean and sober. I was a mess. I know people do it. It is attainable, but I just wasn't that person. And I'm super grateful for that. I like the contrast that there's one life I had there, which was, I went to hell and back. And then this life is just like, it's a continuing remembering who I am and trying to grow as a person. So yeah, that's...
Thank you. And we have a new guest here. Welcome, Roya.
Thank you. I have a question. For someone if somebody wants to stop taking substances or stop drinking, normally they want to stop partying or going out, more to say. For someone who doesn't want to stop going out but still wants to go with friends who are still taking substances, what were some of the cues or skills or words or ways that you told yourself or you did for yourselves to kind of stay strong and not go to the bathroom or to the bar or join that circle and still like have a good time and not feel left out?
So for me, it was very important to be attentive to my body and my mind. So if I would plan to go out on a Saturday and on Saturday I would feel stressed or feel anxious about it and feel like I can't deal with the situation, then to not go, to really understand how is my stress level, can I actually deal with the situation, and then not expose myself to something that could be overwhelming. So you have to be very sensitive to this. And for me, it was also important to surround myself with other sober people, to have a sober buddy on my side and to know that there's somebody I can count on, and to know that I'm not surrounded by only high people at the end of the night, to really know I have somebody by my side. I mean, now I can go on my own, I can be a sober buddy myself to somebody else, but in the beginning it was just very important to have somebody to have my back. And then also to leave, if you feel like, okay, I can't keep up. I do the same. I have like 5 Red Bull and 5 Club Mate, so I go home with heart race, so some things never change. But just really to leave the situation when you think you can't deal with it anymore.
I think also it's, just to build on what Maxie said, it's also key to ensure that the people that you're surrounding yourself with also respect your decision. That you're around people that are aware of these changes that you do want to make and don't make a big deal or don't make it obvious, like, hey, I'm going to the bathroom now, and to have the people around that support you. And I also feel that to really understand what the why is, the reason why you don't want to drink anymore, the reason why you don't want to party. And that should be also something that should be strong enough sometimes, strong enough to carry you through those moments of temptation. It's like, how will I feel tomorrow? What I want to, who I want to be, what I want to be. And seeing that version of you, you'll start making those decisions to get you to that place, right? But it's definitely important, the support system that you have around you and people around that don't try to put it in your face and that support where you want to be.
you should also communicate this why to your surrounding. When clients come to me and say, like, I go out with my friends, I'm so nervous, I tell them, hey, you're all in a WhatsApp group for this party anyway, or going to a festival or whatever. Put in this group on a statement that I need your help to stay sober. And if these are your real friends, they will protect you. They will say, you got this, and they are starting to respect you even more, step by step. And they get inspired by you too. I see a lot of my clients who say, like, hey man, you believe what? My friend stops now too to smoke weed. Or he stops the coke during the week at work, just on the weekend. But it's a good step forward, huh? We reduce. So what she said is very important, the why, make it aware for others. And then the people around you will also separate. You will see the ones who respect you and accept your decision, and the ones who really help you to get there.
Yeah, thank you so much. There were amazing tips around it, and I feel we could share a lot more about this topic, and at the same time, our time is already running out. But there is an invitation, so if you want to talk to any of us about those kind of topics, we will be around here at the site for a little moment, or find us later on the conference. And in general, I personally found it super inspiring to have that conversation here again. Thanks, Lindi, for inviting us, for bringing that topic also over here. And what I take away with me from this session is that this topic is just the beginning. And that it also takes so much, right? Because it starts with personal education, how it really means and feels to be a human. It goes over potentially into drug policy, and it goes over into designing spaces that are actually made for a sober togetherness and for a sober high with people, right? So it crashes like so many topics, and I think all of that topics we could debate for hours here. But I would love to encourage everyone who's here, take these thoughts with you home, think about yourself, how can you create those environments for yourself, for the people around you. And with that, I would like to thank everyone for participating, for listening, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much for such an inspiring conversation, for sharing your vulnerabilities, also for the members of the audience that came and shared. It was very special. We're going to have a little change over a few minutes, and we're back at 3:15 with the artist manager as co-founder about the ever-evolving relationship between the artist and manager. See you soon.